Okay, Brian, 3, 2, 1, you're on the backup camera.
I tell you people, look up at the sky and what do you see? Do you see the visions of your childhood? Or do you see the nightmare of tomorrow? Because I know what you see, because I see the same thing. The same fear that grips you, grips me too. And enough is enough. We can't just be on the sidelines anymore. We can't just ignore what's going on. There are samples from all over the world. Yeah, that's right. All over the world that we are being poisoned, like aluminium, for example, and barium and strontium. There are thousands of times more parts per million than there should be. And it's making people get sick. It's killing us. And people want to just pretend it's not happening. Well, not on my watch. Not on my watch. It doesn't happen. And it comes to an end because we're all sovereign beings and we deserve to live and breathe clean air. We all deserve to be super, not just me and my enlightened friends. We, the people, deserve justice. And I say to you, enough is enough. We need to come together and realise our worth, that we're not just merely sheep and cattle to spend our credit cards in the shops and to drink poisoned water, to drink fluorinated water, to brush your teeth with fluoride, which dumbs your brain down, which calcifies your pineal gland and makes you laugh on the beach and makes you laugh at people that are trying to help you. That's what it does. And save yourselves. If not for me, do it for you. How about do it for you? How about that? You know, just do it for yourself. That is all.
There you go, let's
Sure, take that. And you're next.
Who's going to ask questions?
Okay.
Get a bit more reactions. More better reactions.
You've done great, Pete.
I ain't finished yet.
Did I do all right?
You did fine, mate.
Cheers.
To basically cover the sky in clouds, synthetic clouds, which are geoengineered clouds left by aircraft. Every civilian airline company worldwide are spraying aluminium, strontium, barium, strontium-90, lithium, plutonium, chromium-6, aluminium, and also iron oxide, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen dioxide, which are all extremely damaging to the ozone, as nitrogen dioxide and sulfur dioxide destroy the ozone. All of these particulates are raining back down to the earth, and every one of you, ladies and gentlemen, your family, your friends, and your children are breathing these nanoparticulates in 24 hours a day. They are causing epidemics in all upper respiratory disorders such as asthma, bronchitis, chronic bronchitis, and emphysema. They are on a huge increase worldwide, not just in the United Kingdom, but the United Kingdom has had a massive increase in the last 7 years of all upper respiratory disorders. This is solely because of nanoaluminium. I'll explain what a nanoparticle is. A nanoparticle is a very tiny shard of aluminium, basically. They're all nano-sized. A nanometer is 1/1000th of a meter across. You can fit 1,000 of these red blood cells, 1,000 of these particulars inside a red blood cell. They are that small. You breathe them in every single day. Also, something for you to understand, ladies and gentlemen, is that in the stratospheric aerosol geoengineering, they're also spraying desiccated red blood cells. A desiccated red blood cell is a freeze-dried, biologically active red blood cell. Contained within these red blood cells are the flu viruses. There are 127 specific flu viruses being deployed as an airborne pathogen worldwide at this very moment in time as I'm speaking on this microphone. Basically, they spray these to infect the population, so they all go running off to your doctors and your medical professionals to be vaccinated with the flu vaccine. So basically, what this does is it causes a lot of damage, and this is absolutely deliberate. They are spraying these to back the pharmaceutical companies. All of these flu viruses they're spraying in the persistent chemical trails, which is the geoengineering over the United Kingdom, Europe, the continental United States, and Canada. In fact, every single NATO country are being sprayed. All of these red blood cells, these desiccated red blood cells, are being released and contain within them the flu viruses. It is an airborne pathogen deliberately sprayed on the populations of the world in order for people to go off to get vaccinated. The geoengineering programs were actually originally devised by Dr. David W. Keith out of Harvard, and the aluminium is causing massive problems in society, as in autism. Autism used to affect 1 in 100,000 children. That was 10 years ago. Now autism is affecting 1 in 48. That is a massive increase and a direct correlation to nanoaluminium. Nanoaluminium and aluminium compounds are very destructive to the brain. They cause brain cell necrosis. In other words, what they do is they cause degeneration of the brain cells in the frontal lobe, in the cerebellum, the hippocampus, and also in the cerebellum. So what this does, it causes your brain to function inadequately and will cause all degenerative brain conditions to occur. These include autism, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and trust me, 21 genetic chromosome disorder, which is Down syndrome. This is absolute fact. Anybody that understands anything about what aluminium does to the brain and to the body will understand that aluminium is extremely destructive and does cause most definitively all of these degenerative brain conditions. And I stress the word conditions. They are not disease. The same as cancer is not a disease. It has an initiator. I'm sure there are lots of medical professionals around here, nurses, doctors, etc., which will disagree with me, of course, I'm sure. But at the end of the day, anything radioactive in the body will cause cancer. I'm ex-British military, 20 years service, so I understand what these particulars do to the body. I also understand that anything that has a radioactive element will cause cancer to occur in the body. It is as simple as that. They are not diseases, they are all conditions, and they all have an outside initiator. And the outside initiator is the stuff they're spraying in the chemical trails, persistent geoengineering of the United Kingdom, Europe, America, Canada, and worldwide. It is a direct assault on every single one of you. You are breathing them in, your family, your children. You are breathing in nanoaluminium every single second of every day. Aluminium, barium, strontium, strontium-90, plutonium, lithium, chromium-6. Oh my good God, chromium-6. There's a nice one, ladies and gentlemen. But that's what you're breathing in as well. It is horrific. This agenda has been put into place deliberately to harm the population of the world. Do you remember when you were young and you looked up to the sky and you saw a beautiful cobalt blue sky? Yeah, I remember as a child. I looked up, beautiful blue sky. Not anymore. It's not blue because they're spraying silver iodide, okay, into the atmosphere. What this does is it whitens the sky and it stops the photonic light from the sun and the radiation from reaching the Earth's surface. It's called SRM, Solar Radiation Management. This is what they do every single day. You need to look up to the sky. See this poster here? This poster tells you what you need to be looking at, because if you're looking at your phone every single day, you're not looking up and you're not getting involved, because this is affecting every single one of you, your family, your children. You are all being affected by all of these particulates which are raining down 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. The Civil Aviation Authority, through our Conservative government, have allowed every single civilian airline company to retrofit all of their aircraft with retrofitted nozzles above the turbofans, which will disperse these chemicals into the stratosphere. And every time you go on holiday, by the way, that jet you're traveling on is spraying these chemicals over Europe and over the United Kingdom, and you are flying through these chemicals when they're at their most concentrated. The aircraft fly at altitude at 39,000 or 37,000 feet. You are flying through these chemical trails and they are getting into the cabin of the aircraft, and you are breathing these particulates in. They are at their most concentrated. Passengers are becoming ill, and I wonder why that could be. Well, it's pretty obvious, ladies and gentlemen. They're becoming ill because you are breathing in these particulates at their most concentrated in the stratosphere at 37,000 feet. So basically, you're being poisoned on the way to your holiday, and that's an absolute fact. And you can look it up. This is a fact. You need to look up stratospheric aerosol geoengineering, look up Dr. David W. Keith out of Harvard, look up SRM, solar radiation management, and also look up all the particulars that are being sprayed 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, over the United Kingdom, over Europe, and worldwide. Every NATO country are being sprayed, absolutely, 365 days a year. And I can tell you for a fact, I've worked on these programs. I'm ex-British military, 20 years. I know what they're doing. I understand the United Nations involvement in all of this. Basically, what they're doing is they are working with the United Nations Weather Warfare Initiative, and what they're doing is controlling your weather. So every time you look up to the sky, today we've got the royal wedding going on today. So obviously we can have absolutely beautiful blue skies. But this is the only reason you have blue skies today, is because they're letting you have blue sky. How many days this year have you had beautiful, hot sunshine and clear blue skies? Well, you haven't, have you? And there's a very good reason for that. The reason for that is because they're spraying the sky every single day with persistent chemical trails, and they block out the sun and cover your country in cloud systems. And what they do then is they use the ground radar systems, which are the Doppler and NextRad radar, and they use these systems to put specific radio frequencies into these systems to hold them in place over the country for 48 hours. It's a 3-day cycle. They spray, and you'll get a day's sunshine, maybe 2 days sunshine a month if you're very lucky, but apart from that, you're not going to get it, because this is deliberate. Also, ultraviolet B radiation. It's extremely important for your body because it converts vitamin D3 for your immune system. If you don't have ultraviolet B radiation coming down to the Earth's surface in the right quantities, the vitamin D3 will not be converted and your immune system will be compromised. And basically, worldwide, millions and millions of people are suffering from immunodeficiency syndrome. Their immune systems are collapsing because they're not getting the vitamin D that they need. Also, nanoaluminium attacks your white blood cells. The white blood cells are the blood cells in your body which are absolutely vital for your immune systems. They are being targeted as well. Also, mitochondrial DNA is being affected by these, which is the starting motor for every cell in your body. It's absolutely vital that you start to look up stratospheric aerosol geoengineering, look up to the skies, take your heads out your phones and look up, because this is affecting every single one of you, yourselves, your family and your children. It is vital that you start to research stratospheric aerosol geoengineering. Research Project Indigo Skyfold. Okay, look up to the sky, see what's going on, because today we've got blue sky, but very rarely we have this. It's a very rare thing to have blue sky, only because we have the royal wedding today. They've allowed us to have some beautiful blue sky and sunshine, but that's it. Also, our ozone layer has been critically compromised, and they've compromised it by releasing millions of tons of nitrogen dioxide into the atmosphere, which is an ozone-destroying gas. What this has done is it's made a hole in our ionosphere and a hole in the ozone layer, which is now allowing UVC X-ray radiation to reach the Earth's surface. This is why you look at the sun now, it doesn't look yellow anymore. The sun now looks white because UVCs are very bright and very hot. And this is the reason we've lost 66%, by the way, 66% of the bee populations worldwide. Bees navigate by ultraviolet light. Okay, their brains are predominantly organized for navigation and perception of the environment. Bees are basically being blinded by UVC X-ray radiation because they see in that spectrum of light. This is damaging all the bees. We've lost 66% so far. And if they continue, the world's leading entomologists have predicted in the next 10 to 15 years, if these programs continue to accelerate and are not stopped, we will lose all insect species on the planet. All pollination will stop. It is a vitally important issue that people need to be aware of. Also, something you need to be aware of are the phytoplankton. They are the plankton in the upper levels of the ocean which provide us with 60% of the Earth's oxygen. They are the blood cells of the planet. We have lost 48% of the phytoplankton in the oceans in the last 15 years. If we lose the remainder of the phytoplankton and the insects die, that is it. That will be the end of everything. There'll be no more oxygen. You know, it will last for another 200 or 300 years, but after that, it will all dissipate into space. So it is vitally important that we start to research
Another superhero.
stratospheric geoengineering and solar radiation management. Okay, so if we lose the phytoplankton, we're in big trouble. In fact, if we lose all of the plankton in the oceans, all life in the ocean will collapse. It will have a domino effect. The species that won't be affected, obviously, the dolphins and the whales and the seals, they don't rely on the oxygen in the water, but they come to the surface for oxygen. But the whales rely on the plankton and the krill, and obviously the dolphins and the sea lions and the seals, they rely on the fish species for their food. Once they're eradicated, they'll have no more food, so it will be a domino effect, and all life in the oceans will cease to exist. Looking at the implications of no more photosynthesis. The implications of that, you will have no more cotton for your clothes, no more coffee, no more bread, no more corn, no more wheat, nothing in the bread basket, nothing to eat. Okay, it will have a catastrophic effect on all society. Basically, it is an absolutely horrific agenda of the stratospheric aerosol geoengineering programs. As the sign says here, it says, look up in the sky, stop geoengineering, because that, on that sign, is exactly what you see every single day. They are not contrails. Please don't confuse between contrails and persistent chemical trails. A contrail is basically ice crystals coming out the back of an aircraft engine, and they dissipate with about 20 to 30 seconds maximum. Then they just go, they disappear, but they don't. This is what you see on this poster here. They are persistent chemical trails full of aluminium, strontium, barium, strontium-90, lithium, plutonium, uranium, chromium-6, iron oxide derivatives, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide. You're breathing all of these particulates in. They are nanoparticulates, a nanometer across, basically. And what a nanometer is a billionth of a meter. Anybody that's studied anything at university will understand what a nanometer is. They are tiny. You can fit 1,000 of these particulates inside one red blood cell. Also, they are spraying desiccated red blood cells. A desiccated red blood cell is basically a freeze-dried, biologically active blood cell. Within these blood cells are contained the flu virus. It is delivered as an airborne pathogen, okay? This is how everybody gets the flu, and these flu pandemics which have risen exponentially over the last 5 to 6 years. The reason for this is because what they're doing is they're releasing the flu virus in these red blood cells to fund the pharmaceutical agency and the pharmaceutical company. So you rush off to your medical professionals and your doctors basically to be vaccinated with the flu virus. The flu vaccine. There are 127 separate flu viruses active right now in the world as I'm speaking on this microphone. And each flu virus has a very specific vaccine to counteract the effects of the actual virus. So it's vitally important you understand that the flu virus is delivered as an airborne pathogen deliberately on the public. And this happens 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It will affect young children because their immune systems are not very well functioning. It will also affect older people. As the older you get, the less responsive your immune system becomes. And because aluminium actively attacks your white blood cells, which are also vitally important for your immune system, they are being eradicated as well. If you lose your white blood cells, basically, or your white blood cell count goes down, you will suffer from immunodeficiency syndrome. Your immune system will collapse. Also, it is inhibiting the production of mitochondrial DNA. Mitochondrial DNA are the starting motors for every single cell in your body, and this is what is happening every single day. You look up the sky today, it's beautiful, beautiful blue sky, we've got sunshine, it's nice and hot, everyone's having a great time down the beach, enjoying themselves, fantastic day, but we have blue sky and sunshine today because they're letting us have blue sky and sunshine. Tomorrow, the Geoengineering programs will start up again. Every single civilian airline company worldwide are involved in spraying persistent chemical trails over Europe, over the United Kingdom, through the United Nations Weather Warfare Initiative, and sponsored by our Conservative government. Every civilian airline company are involved through the Civil Aviation Authority here in Europe and through the Federal Aviation Authority in the United States and Canada. They are all involved. Every single NATO country are being sprayed like bugs. You are breathing these horrifically poisonous chemicals and heavy metals and nanoparticulates in every single day. There is nothing you can do to stop these particulates coming into your body and into your brain. They get into your bloodstream, they get past the blood-brain barrier, and they affect the brain in very specific ways, particularly aluminium. Aluminium will cause most definitively all the degenerative brain conditions such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, autism, absolutely. If you look back 10 years, autism affected 1 in 100,000 boys. Now it's affecting 1 in 48, and it's a direct correlation to nanoaluminium. Also, they're spraying lithium. Now, lithium has a very specific effect on the body. What lithium does, it gets into your arteries and actively narrows your arteries. What this does, it causes cardiac arrhythmia and erratic heartbeat, which will lead to a heart attack. Also causes type 2 diabetes and strokes, and it's a direct correlation to what they're spraying every single day. They are not diseases, they are conditions. They have an outside initiator, and that outside initiator is what they're spraying in the persistent chemical trails 365 days a year. It is an attack on humanity, ladies and gentlemen. It is nothing less than that. It is premeditated genocide on the populations of the world, and anybody that looks at it in any other way needs to go and get some serious psychological help, because these geoengineering programs are being basically initiated by the Civil Aviation Authority 365 days a year, Every single civilian airline company are spraying nano-aluminium, barium, strontium, lithium, plutonium, uranium, chromium-6, iron oxide derivatives, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide into the atmosphere. They are all nano-sized particulates, and they are raining back down to the earth, and you are all breathing them in 24 hours a day. This sign here tells you what to look at. If you look at the sky and see that, you know what that is. It's as simple as that. Just look at that sign and look up to the sky. People spend far too much time with their heads in their phones and not looking up to see what's going on, because this, ladies and gentlemen, is affecting you, your family, and your children. It is an absolute horrific agenda that they're doing. 365 days a year, you are being sprayed like bugs. This is what they're doing, and it is horrendous. As I said, lithium causes heart conditions, not heart disease. The radioactive elements also cause every known cancer. Chromium-6 and strontium get into the bones, they replace the calcium, and they cause leukemia. Nice, yeah, but that's what it does. That's a fact. And all of these radioactive particulates and chemicals will get into your bloodstream, and they will most definitively cause mutations in your cells, which will then in turn initiate all cancers, all of them. 5G, here we go.
Oh, 5G.
5G. Now 5G has been put into place. Now I'm ex-military. I served in the military for 20 years in the British military. And I was involved in a lot of these programs. I've read a lot of classified documents pertaining to frequency weapons, microwave technologies, and radio wave technologies. Okay, these technologies have been in place since 1983. 5G is a weaponized technology. It puts out a frequency, and that frequency will basically get into your brain and will cause glycomas, brain tumors. It is absolutely lethal. It will cause mutations in your cells. They are going to put these 5G antennas on every single lamppost in the country, every single one. So you get a really good signal for your phone. Well, ladies and gentlemen, 5G does not give your bloody phone a good signal. Let me guarantee you that. It will not. Since when has 3G or 4G ever given your mobile a better signal? Oh, I'm out of range of the bloody transmitter, so I haven't got a good signal on my mobile phone. Well, that's the fact, ladies and gentlemen, that it does not give your phone a good signal. It is put in place to cause damage. They cause microwave frequencies and microwave radiation. All handsets cause these frequencies. If you call somebody, you've got your phone next to your ear all the time, that is directly being put into your brain. Those frequencies are going into your brain and causing irreparable damage and causing degenerative brain conditions and cancer in the brain to occur. This is an absolute fact. Also, all lighting, all street lighting now is going to be replaced with LED lights. With LED lights. LED lights put out a microwave frequency basically, and what they do is they cut the receptors in the brain and stop the production of serotonin and melatonin. Serotonin basically is a chemical in the receptors in the brain which helps you to be happy. And if you've got lots of serotonin in the brain, then you're not going to suffer from depression or anything like that. So everybody's happy, nobody's depressed, but unfortunately those receptors will be cut off, so therefore the serotonin is cut off, so therefore you will become depressed. It will be a massive problem in all society. Also, it cuts off the receptors which produce
Dopamine.
No. It cuts off the receptors which produce melatonin. Melatonin is a chemical that is released into your brain that helps you to sleep, basically. So if you lose the ability, or your brain loses the ability to actually produce serotonin and melatonin, if you have no melatonin being produced in your brain, you will not be able to sleep, and you will suffer from deep sleep deprivation and insomnia.
The medical profession are now calling it sleep apnea.
Sleep apnea, yes,
That's
exactly.
the term that they're using.
Yeah, that's what they're calling it, but it's the frequency that cause it.
Yeah, it's called
Yeah.
sleep apnea.
Yeah, sleep apnea. But you know, if you have no melatonin being produced in those receptors in the brain, you will not be able to sleep, and sleep deprivation and sleep apnea will kill you, because you need to sleep. Because when you sleep, what happens is your brain is repairing all the damage in your body that's happening in the daytime. That's why you sleep. That's the reason why you sleep. So if you can't sleep, your brain can no longer repair any of the damage which is inside your body. Okay, this is a very important thing to remember. So 5G has been put into place not to give your mobile phone a better signal. It's been put into place basically to harm the populations of the world. It's as simple as that. People will rush out to buy the latest 5G handset because that's a cool thing to have. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I've got a 5G handset. Wow, that's a cool handset to have. That's what I want to have. people will think, oh wow, he's got the latest 5G handset. But ladies and gentlemen, it's not going to make any difference. It won't give you a better signal because we are a consumer-driven society. This is the problem we face at the moment in society. We rush out to buy the latest technology because technology is basically the thing that keeps everybody going. It's nice to have a laptop, a computer, a phone. It's always nice, by emails and basic communication between our friends and families. It's very important. But at the end of the day, technology also has a darker side, and this is what you need to understand, that the frequencies that are put out by laptops, by routers, which could be your Wi-Fi, your telephones, your handsets, your computers, laptops, tablets, etc., they all put out microwave radiation. Smart meters, oh my god. They're going to, basically in 2020, they'll introduce smart meters into every single house. Smart meters put out 650 times more radiation than a mobile phone. It is absolutely lethal. It will cause irreparable and horrific damage to all of you, your family, your children, your friends. If anybody comes around to your house and says, I'm going to fit a smart meter, just refuse, because it is not being passed through through Parliament as mandatory law to have a smart meter fitted at the moment. But in 2020, they're going to implement it as the latest technology to have in your house. If you do have a smart meter fitted in your house, you can basically stop a lot of that radiation getting out by actually fitting a Faraday cage to the outside of that smart meter. What this will do, it will trap the microwave radiation in that Faraday cage and stop about 90% of it getting out into your house, into your home, and to damage your family and your children and your friends. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you do have a smart meter fitted, have a good look online. Get yourself a Faraday cage which will go over the top of that smart meter, and that will then cut back the risk of any damage being caused by the microwave frequencies to your family, your children and your friends. So that's 5G, and obviously the LED lighting and everything else. But the main thing that we're talking about today is the stratospheric aerosol geoengineering programs. Which is basically on this poster right in front of me now. You look up to the sky, you see this. You see these crisscross trails all over the place. They are not contrails. Contrails are ice crystals in the atmosphere which dissipate within about 20 seconds. These are persistent chemical trails laid down by every single civilian airline company through the Civil Aviation Authority. Every civilian airline company's aircraft have been retrofitted to deploy these chemicals, which include aluminium, strontium, barium, lithium, chromium-6, etc. So yeah, you're being poisoned.